Hello everyone, this is Xiao from LearnChessWithXiao.com. Today we'll cover King and Queen Checkmate. So basically, this is a position where we have our King and Queen and we want to checkmate our opponent's Long King. So in general, there are a few steps we want to go through to make sure we can checkmate easily. And the first question I like to ask students is, where do you think we want to push our opponent's king to? Do we want to keep this king in the center? Or is it easier to checkmate it when we can push the king to the corner? This corner or that corner? Depends on the situation. Generally, the corner is much easier, as we can see from the follow-up of this video. Okay, so if that is the case, to push the king to the corner, what's our strategy to do that? The basic strategy is to use a knight-shaped move using your queen. So for example, in this starting position, we'll move queen from d3 to e4. Now our queen is like giving a knight check to the opponent's king. Now, regardless where black's king go to, let's say if it goes to f7, we will continue to push forward, queen e5. Or if our opponents try another way, goes to queen g7, then we do the same thing. Now queen f5. Let's do one other example. King g5. It looks like black's king is already under a knight-shaped check with our queen, but we can use our queen to move to another square. Queen f3. It still looks like a knight-shaped check. Okay, we'll go back to the first option, but you can practice using the other two options as well. So now we'll continue. King g6, queen f4, continue the knight-shaped position with our queen. King g7, king f5, king g8, queen f6, king h7, queen g5, king h8. Now the black's king is already on the corner of the board. Now this is very important. We have to be careful not to make this move. If we play queen g5 to queen g6, what will happen? That's right, it will be a stalemate and the game become a draw. So instead of winning this game, you have to split the points with your opponent. So for analogy, you have a whole cake on your side and you're just about ready to eat it. Somebody else comes in and say, okay, half of that cake is mine. So that's something you want to avoid in chess. We are winning this position completely. We don't want to give half point away. Alright, now is actually the second step of the checkmate. Now we have pushed the opponent's king to the corner. It's time to use our king to help. And to see why, you want to ask yourself, can the queen itself checkmate black's king? And the answer is no. By just having itself, we can only give checks. It cannot checkmate by itself. So now we want to start marching our own king. And black doesn't have any other option, just king h7 and h8 back and forth. So we'll continue. Alright, now what's the final move? That's right, queen g7 is checkmate. Black's king has nowhere to go, and he cannot take white's queen because the king is protecting the queen. That's why we march the king close to the final position and then finally use the queen to checkmate. Alright. Okay. So we covered the steps. Have black's king push black's king to a corner, and then use our king to help the queen, and then finally to finish with the king and queen checkmate. I want to cover briefly in different corners. So sometimes we push to this corner like the position we have. Then we want to leave the queen to on g5. Or another possibility is to leave the queen on e7 to allow black to move back and forth on g8 and h8. In another position, let's go to board editor. If the king is to on a8, then we want to leave the queen on d7 or b5. And similarly on a1, leave the queen on b4 or d2. And lastly, when the king on h1, we want to leave the queen on e2 and g4. Alright, so it's the same procedure as what we covered earlier. Last thing before we start practicing more. One thing that many beginners get confused. So they learn about the strategy and they know how to do the net-shaped pushing. But one thing they get confused is they start walking in circles. This is something we want to avoid, because if we keep doing this, we're not making any progress. So one way to avoid doing that is ask yourself the first question: which corner we want to push black's king to? Let's aim to push the king to this corner, a1. Then we know how to avoid making circles. Now if we go here, instead of going to e3, then we're confused, because then black plays king d5 and queen c3. Then we're confused which corner we want to go. If we are set our mind that we will push black's king to a1, then we know we'll continue to push this way. Queen d6, king c3, queen d5, and so on and so forth until we push black's king to a1. Okay, that's all for now. Go ahead and practice this in-game at home with friends or families, and then play many times against each other until you're very sure that you know how to checkmate with king and queen. If you have questions, feel free to ask me. You can go to learn chess with xiao.com/contact. Or let's check learn chess with xiao.com and then contact. Alright, here you can ask me questions and I'll communicate with you. Alright, thanks for watching, and keep on rocking in chess.